Look, I opened this jar of rotten baby food, and a butterfly came out.
Welcome to the Comedians and Elevators podcast. I've got my guest, Ron Barel here. Ron, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm very happy to be here, first of all. I'm Rom. I'm a business developer. I help businesses to grow. I basically make sure all their systems work well. I'm like the Airbnb, but for businesses. I basically find the perfect match for you and for the solutions that you need and make sure you have it. And more than that, I basically enjoy life, you know?
That's the best
Like
part.
I love dancing, I love traveling, I love being at the beach, I love life. Yeah,
Excellent, excellent. Do you use AI in your work now?
I use AI. Yes, of course. You cannot ignore it. This is not something you can just pass, you know?
That's right. And so the reason, well, there's many reasons, but one of them is the questions that I'm about to ask you were
Hmm.
mostly generated from ChatGPT.
Ooh, okay.
So now the premise I started with, which is the to compare and contrast the comic versus comedian. So let me define it. I define the comic as any person telling funny jokes versus the comedian who is a funny person that tells any joke. So
Okay.
two sides of the same coin. Most people would argue you start as a comic and you evolve into a comedian. So the first question is about the role of persona in comedy. How much of the comedian's voice is a character versus their real self?
Hmm. Wow. That's a good question. Do you look for, you're looking for like a number answer?
Absolutely not. This the whole point is to make this as challenging as possible, and the truth shall emerge.
Okay, okay. Repeat the question. I'm here. I'm here. Let's go. Repeat. Let's go. Let's go.
How much of the comedian's voice is a character versus their real self?
So I think, as you defined comedian, I feel like actually 80% is real, you know? I feel
Hmm.
like 80% is the real personality of the person because I feel like, and I know you generate those questions from AI, but I feel like we live in such an era that we forget how to be creative and how to actually create by ourselves, and it's all like stolen ideas from others that actually that work for them. So I feel like, you know what, that's what I think that if you keep being real and keep being creative and you actually a funny person, you'll succeed more than any other trend or fake comedian. Yeah.
I'll go with that. So just to touch on the AI, I came up with the comic versus comedian, and this is the questions that came out. So I think using it in this sense, it's a great tool. I have augmented the question since, so it's not just how it came, but is a kind of a origin story. That's
I
where it
love
came
that.
from.
It shows that you're a real creator, you know? You use
Working
AI
with
as a
AI.
tool. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely is up the volume that I can work in. So does authenticity matter, or is illusion part of the magic?
I think illusion can solve everything. So
Okay.
basically, if you watch a movie, you see the actress there and you actually believe them, this is real for you for that moment, you know? So yeah, illusion could be 100% good, but still authenticity in 2025, that's the real game, that's the real
Yeah.
deal, especially if you want to success in social media. Yeah.
So I agree with you 100% on the 80%. And I would say the other 20% is what they call in filmmaking spackle. You just
Okay.
plaster over the holes and don't worry about it. That's a historical argument. So,
Love
all right,
that.
next question. Punching up versus punching down. Where do comics versus comedians stand on this? And so here's the part that I added that AI did not. Let's put it in context. Here's a historical reference. Did a jealous medieval prince become the first comedian by killing the court jester?
Whoa.
Yeah, AI didn't come up with that one.
Whoa.
We're just going to put it in context, right? We're talking,
Okay.
but that's it. So is that if you can imagine that moment in time and go back there, did this happen? Is this history that has never been written?
It sounds like it might happen. Is this real? Is this happen?
See, that's why I asked the question. AI hasn't gotten better at this. This is the creative part. Did it happen? We don't know.
We don't know.
But if it
Okay.
did, but if it did, would you say that the audience agreement with this comedian was a form of permission or alignment?
That's challenging.
Yes,
These
it
are
is.
very deep questions, just so you know. It's not like a generic fun questions.
No, they
These
are.
are real questions. I don't know. I have to think about it. It's a very deep one.
Yes, it is. It is. So the idea, obviously, it's coming from the premise of is a comic shallow and a comedian deep? Would you, is that dynamic exist?
I would say comedian and in general, when you try to make somebody else laugh, is basically from the fact that he can relate to you and what you're saying.
Hmm.
So you always touch pain points in his life, in the audience life, basically, and then you make it like fun and make it easy and make it like a joke eventually. So I think being a comedian is very deep, and you have to be very smart and very intelligent to really find the correct pain point, that make it like fun and happy versus like sad and bad.
Or angry. So, touching on perhaps anger, which is not an emotion, actually, it's just a kind of physical reaction of the body, right? Is that comedy? If you're just getting angry, if they're punching, pushing at you, would you even find that to be humorous?
It all depends on the end, if you start by making me angry, and then you have a twist that make me like understand it was all part of a thing, and we're all here together, and you don't mean to make me angry, you just mean to like wake my nerves up, to make
Hmm.
me feel a little bit uncomfortable, and then I can really like listen carefully to what you say and enjoy the how you call it. Is this a joke? Or it's not a joke. This is like what? How you call it? Like a part when you
The setup.
set up. Okay.
Yeah, setup and punchline. You can have tags to keep it going. But yeah, the setup is, and then of course the header is the kind of general context. Like,
Mhm.
for this, it's the comic versus comedian. That's kind of the header. Like everything is the comic versus comedian, but each question has a setup. So how about the cultural translation of comedy? How do jokes that work in one country bomb in another?
Ooh. I don't think all jokes work in all countries. It all depends on like culture, I think. So you have like the general jokes that works everywhere because everybody are, they want to have a family, they want to get married, they have kids. So all around that, all around like being you know, like work jokes and all of that, it could be like for everyone. But I feel like all the specific jokes could be controversial, it doesn't have to match to everyone. I can tell you that I'm originally from Israel, and Israel is a very controversial place. And I can tell you that if you go for a comedy show in Israel, you won't understand like 90% of the jokes because it's all about the situation, it's about security, it's about fight, it's about war, so I don't think if you come here to the USA and you do the same jokes, it won't work, they just won't understand it.
That's a good point. Now, when you say controversy, would you say that it's controversial inside of Israel when you're telling these jokes, or is it from an outside perspective?
I think both, because in Israel you can see like the left and right, and it's very strong in there, but at the same time, people feel like very united in times of war. So you basically joke a little bit about how your neighbor is so like is the complete opposite from you and is like thinking all the way like the opposite from you, and then you have the nice moments of being united and how you help each other. So they basically like try to play between the two sides.
So it seems like it's actually it's just a unique situation. It's actually very internalized, but it also has an external reference at all times. So it's probably the most unique kind of reference to a country where we have this context where it's super unique, right? Because you have this kind of very specific environment, right?
And you can also see it if you go, like, if you want to start like having a, I don't know, comedy show about being an employee versus being a business owner. It's also like it could be a nice touch, of like joking about like the why are you doing that? Why are you stuck? Why are you stuck? The comparison between them, but also like you have to be careful not to like make somebody feel like a failure. Yeah. This is like
Ah,
the easy line between the two.
that's an interesting point. So how I have to ask in comedy, how would that happen? How would you make how would you make someone feel like a failure?
Well, it's pretty basic. Once you, sometimes right now there is a huge trend of like being a business owner and like
I see.
promote your own business, promote your own trend. Now, I'm a business developer. That's basically what I do. I take business owners and I build their brand, so I make sure eventually they succeed with that. But I also fair enough to tell someone, hi, go work somewhere. You're not
Right.
built to be a business owner. No, no, no.
Yeah.
It's too much for you. So if you do comedy about that, it's like sometimes people want something so bad, they think if they're
Mm,
going to be business owners and like influencers and all of that, they'll be free. But this is like wrong, of course. They just have like thousand other bosses instead of one.
mm.
They always feel uncomfortable, like they have like a mirror for what they won't achieve, if it makes sense.
No, that definitely does. But now throwing AI in the context, do you think that perhaps everyone must become an entrepreneur?
Well, I had a conversation yesterday with my client and she almost cried. She told me like, I would never be an entrepreneur. I don't think I'm capable of doing that by myself. Um, And like AI could help you a lot. And you could actually, you can succeed for a short period of time. I don't think AI is gonna, one second. AI gonna last forever. Yes, for sure. There is no way to go back. No, 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 no. Just forward and all the way with AI. Yes.
Right.
But in business, you really have to be an expert. You really need to know what you're doing. Otherwise, even if you sell once, twice, three times the product, it won't work if you don't actually know what you're doing. So, yeah, AI in businesses, yes, but you have to be an expert.
Well, speaking of experts, that kind of leads right into the next question because it's about crowd work versus crafted work. So, if comics riff like doing crowd work, like influencers, and comedians perform like in reaction videos on YouTube, for example, where is the sweet spot?
Maybe you tell me where is the sweet spot.
Well, it's the way I look at it, the whole thing of the comic versus comedian, it's a Venn diagram. There's an overlap between the two. And the sweet spot would be in that middle ground, right, where they blend together.
Yeah.
And and that's part of what I'm doing is actually trying to identify all these kind of components and especially that middle ground and see, what the trajectory is. So, it's more about opening it up to ask these questions to come up with possibly more questions. So here's a second part of it. So what would happen when a comic leans too much into crowd work or when a comedian gets heckled?
Yeah, but you right now open the most common subject ever, which is balance. This is
Yeah.
like number one rule is like to be balanced in all of that. So you can react and you can do like reaction video, but you also need to create. You can count on the audience, no problem, and actually even like perform live, but not instead of social media appearance and like online appearance. So you always need to think on both of them. And actually, if you really want to make money as a comedian, you have to work online a lot and maybe teach other people how to be comedian.
I would agree. I think there is by the numbers you should start out for sure. And
Mm.
part of it is the comic versus comedian. So we're on the same page there. That brings so we're just leading to the next question, which is advertising and self-promotion. So who advertises themselves more, the comic or comedian? You know that place where you're not conscious and you're not sleeping either? That's your power bill to the electric company. Right here. I want us to be here with free energy, where the Wardenclyffe Tower meets the Eiffel Tower. But that's not where we are. We are here, where you've got the utility and you've got residential solar. Between these two, we know which one saves you money. This is where we can go in the meantime. But this is where I want us to be now, and this can be done now. So let me deputize you to represent DOSE, Department of Solar Efficiency, and let's get on the podcast and get the message out today. See you soon.
A comic or comedian? Maybe the comic? I think comic.
But why?
I think comic. Um, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not all into that war, but I feel like they need to push themselves harder and it like sort of like it's all based on their momentum, you know?
Mm. Mm.
Right now they're relevant, their brand is hot. Right now people follow them, love them. Right now. In a few days could be somebody else taking their place and they're gone like
Mm-hmm.
that. So yeah, I think they need to push themselves harder and even invest money in it, let me tell you.
Yeah. So would you say the comedian has a different way of doing this because they're more internalized and they'll last longer?
Love that. More internalized and last longer. Yeah, absolutely.
So would you say self-promotion could be seen as selling out, or is it necessary for survival?
It all depends on how you do it. Because
Mhm.
self-promotion is a number one thing these days. You know, you always need to be authentic and like share cute moments from your life and then use that to tell about your business and about what you're doing. So you have to like to be there. Um, And about selling out, I do feel like when you sell, and especially online, and these days it's a little bit blurry, you really need to be specific on like what you're doing, what you're trying to do. You know, I understand that there is the subconscious, and we're all trying to talk to other subconscious and try to hook them by that. But the real truth is it won't last. Because in a certain point, when you have enough followers and enough people that actually follow your lead and love your content, they want to really know like what you're doing. And the tips that you give, like a general hooks, it's not enough anymore. You need to actually give like real tips, real exercise for the audience to practice and to work more and more. Yeah, it's more like it becomes more like interactive. And again, these are the moments that the AI is not enough. And the like you know, when you try to like take other people video and try to do the same, it's not working anymore. You have to be authentic, real, and original.
Well, definitely, yeah. Original, making your own content for sure. So, like a reaction video of yourself, for example, right?
Yeah.
You
Reaction
could do
videos,
that.
I love that. It's amazing.
I should probably do that for this, right? Have reaction videos of this actual interaction. That would be kind of a little meta, but hey, why not? Okay, so censorship and offense. Does a comic avoid offense while a comedian courts it to prove a point?
Repeat it
Censorship and offense. Does
again.
a comic avoid offense while a comedian courts it to prove a point?
That's a good question. So, can you clarify what exactly lead me to the answer you want me to answer here?
There's no lead, but I can see the problem is definitely the definitions of comic versus comedian, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, in this context, perhaps the comic, it's you were defining them as they're having to work harder, right? And then I kind of added that the comedian is more internalized, so they don't
Yeah.
have to work as hard at that point. So, from that perspective, if the comic is working harder, are they being careful not to step on anyone's toes? So, trying to avoid offense?
Hmm.
And of course, the flip side is the comedian pushing because they know they are very their character is so obvious and strong that they can push boundaries.
I feel like comedians are a bit similar to magicians.
Mm,
I feel like it's the same because on the one hand they have their own like let's say templates that they know it's working once they lead a story into the punch.
hmm
Like magicians, eventually he knows what he needs to say in every step in terms of like getting the punch and getting the magic and the round of applause from everyone. Um, and I think comedians actually they need to push, they need to go deep and deep and deep, like be even a little annoying. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like comedians are more like it's not just like to make people laugh. It's more about like even make them think and make them like, it's like I don't want to be like rude and straight, but it's like higher level of intelligence. I'm sorry.
No, no, no. Comedy has always been, generally considered a higher intelligence art, even though it looks stupid sometimes,
Yeah.
right? That's the right, and a lot of, and that also the comic versus comedian, right? The comic can tend just to tell stupid jokes. They didn't even write them themselves, but they'd say them,
Yeah.
and the
Like
comedian must
comedian.
internalize.
Yeah, I feel it could be genius, That's why I compare it to magics. I have a very good friend who's a magician. He's like number two in the world, something like that. And his show is so like it's built so right, So you can laugh, you can cry, you can be amazed. You have a full emotional journey during the show. And I feel like comedians actually make that too.
I would
Yeah.
agree. Do you measure the magician? Do you rank them based on how many near-death experiences they've had on stage?
No,
I'm
no,
just
no, no,
how
no.
how do you rank how he's number two? How do you get to
Magician,
them?
how do I rank it?
Yes,
Basically, if I want to fall, okay, let me be honest. I have zero patience, okay? If you don't give me the punch after like a few sentences, I'm done. Like it's
it's
boring.
everybody. Yeah,
Everybody
yeah.
good, happy. So
Yes.
in magics, when you go to the Magic Castle here in Los Angeles, you have like a beginners, and you see the beginners, and they're like 10 minutes of telling the same joke, the same build up, build up, build up for nothing. So
Hmm.
if you build up more and more and take your time, but eventually give me a great trick, I'm cool with that. Like comedian, if you build up and I'm waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, but the punch is good, I'll wait, no problem. But if eventually you tell me all of that and you give me nothing, no.
Yeah, generally that'd be considered failure. I mean, in magic, they're trying to trick you. With comedy, you already know it better make sense, right? And it's about 15 seconds. You have 15 seconds to make to tell the joke at first, at
Yeah.
least. So that's rule number one. The first 15 seconds, they gotta laugh.
Okay. Like that.
So, and by the way, I just added magician to there, so the questions are evolving. So who survives better in a cancel culture environment? The comic, the comedian, or the magician?
In what environment?
Cancel culture.
Hmm. Think. I think the comedian.
I would hope so.
Yeah, he's the only one he's the only one who can like adjust the situation and the audience and the culture and everything around him
Hmm.
and like move with that, go like move forward with that. Yeah, comedian. Wow, you actually make me right now appreciate comedians. Wow.
Well,
Like that.
that is part of my goal here.
When
Otherwise,
is
there'd be
your
no.
show? I want to come to your show.
And
If
you're
that's what you
invited.
make me do in like a few minutes, I want to come.
Comedy Chateaus on Sundays usually, but not every Sunday.
Really? Where is it?
North Hollywood.
Really? I'm coming. Text me info
Absolutely.
there. I'm coming
I,
this Sunday. Sunday, you
I,
said?
so by the way, this is going to come out after the show, but we'll talk actually Friday this week.
Okay. All right. Text
Censorship.
me the details. I want to come to your show.
Awesome. Let's do it. So, timing and delivery, science or art? Do comics rely more on structure and comedians more on rhythm and emotion?
No.
Huh? Okay.
Period. Everyone has structure. Period. If you the most famous, amazing storyteller in the world has a structure. He knows he needs to start with a hook and then go to the story and then tell some little secrets maybe and then go for like the main punch. Uh, You have to have a structure. Even if we don't feel that way, you have to have it. And also, if you see, like, if you look at the history during all times, there are very specific rules for if you want to make people laugh, for comedy, for comic, whatever. But yeah.
All right. Makes sense. So, laughter versus applause. Are comics chasing laughs and comedians chasing applause breaks that validate the message?
Hmm. Well, I think everyone chase applause. Everyone. That's why we
Okay.
do it, because if you have that, you basically have this.
That's a good point. But
Yeah.
for comedy, laughs are relevant, right? So, which
I
are
think
more?
in both loves is relevant. I think in both it's relevant because, you eventually want to have people here that enjoy their time with you and want to come back and come when you like have a new show, new scene, whatever. You want them to laugh in both cases. But I think the difference in that part is just like that comedy is again, it's always like being like more complicated in a good way. You know?
Yeah, definitely. That's how I see it as well. Okay, so comedy is commentary. When does a comedian cross into becoming a philosopher or a preacher?
Ooh, okay. Mm, well, that's a line you don't want to cross when you when you have shows and you have people right there. Because when people come to a comedy show, they want to feel good, you know? They want to feel good. Again, no judgment, no hard feelings. Um, so I feel like the most important part here is to know when to let something go. So if you have a punch and people did not understand that and you want to emphasize it more and more and more and you go deeper and deeper and it's not working, just let it go, move forward, move to the next one and you know,
Hmm.
yeah, you don't
Oh,
want to cross this.
so would you say that is it good or does it dilute the humor?
It's not good. No.
It's not, no,
No, no.
makes sense.
No, no. I'm sorry. I'm thinking because I'm thinking of the situations of me like sitting in the audience and watching the show. It's
Right.
not good. Don't do it.
All
Just
right, fair
don't.
enough. Fair enough, fair enough. Comedy is comedy and vulnerability. So I would argue that comics hide behind their jokes and comedians expose themselves. If you agree, this is a loaded question, but which one is braver?
I think they both really brave.
Okay.
Um, think comic is more, if you tell a joke full of self-confidence and nobody laughs,
Hmm.
it's the worst
Yeah.
ever, you know? Crickets,
Yeah.
crickets. No, no, it's the worst. And comedians, I feel like there is no way to fail when you expose yourself and really share your core, your feelings, your experience. Yeah. What was
I
the
agree.
question?
You pretty much answered it. It was a loaded question in that sense. So
Mhm.
we'll move to the last question. Legacy. Who gets remembered? Will the comics Type 5 survive time, or will the comedian's cultural point of view be more timeless?
Let me tell you something about being timeless. The only way you can be timeless and your artwork would be timeless is if you make sure it not all depends on your presence on stage. What does it mean? It means that if you're a comedian and you have a beautiful show and everything is fine and you have good social media appearance and all of that, but you're not creating a real show, like a TV show, like a streaming show, like creating scripts for different movies, like involve in real projects, like real life project that actually has like,
Hmm.
relevant for, yeah, for life, you won't have a legacy, period. So for
Right.
comics, I think at the past, like the history, yes, they did left legacy because they had the opportunity to do things for the first time.
Hmm.
But 2025, nothing happened for the first time, you know?
Well, I think AI is adding something to the mix there, but for the most part, I would tend to agree. Well, Rom, awesome. Where can everyone find you online?
Sorry, say it again.
Where can everybody find you online?
They can find me online on Instagram, Barel, and they can find me on LinkedIn and TikTok and everywhere.
I pronounce your name. It's Barel.
Barel, yeah, it's an Israeli name, but I'm so used to like mistakes, so I'm good with that.
I can understand that. Well, thank you so much for being my guest, and for everybody, please like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.
Yes, thank you.